International Franchise Association. I'm talking to Anthony Geisler. I know a lot of you have heard of him, and if you haven't heard of him, I don't know where you've been.
Up next.
Yeah, I mean, look, I look at myself as a coach of a great team, right? They're out doing the work, they're out in the grind, they're out making the decision.
I love this because it's really the ultimate roadmap, because prior to this, guess what it really fixes? Nobody had a roadmap.
I tell everybody this at Discovery Day when they come, like, this is not a used car, this is a marriage.
This episode sponsored by SEO Samba. Empower your franchise with predictable results and AI-driven marketing.
Founder and CEO, Sequel Brands. I got to hang out with him just a couple of weeks ago in Newport Beach at his brand new gorgeous offices. Anthony, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you being here. So tremendous amount of growth. You've spent how many years in fitness and longevity, wellness?
20 years, which is crazy when you're 25 years old, that I've spent so much time. But yeah, no, I think it's 20 plus years now in the industry.
Amazing. I have to start with this. Gary Brecka, Anthony Robbins, and Anthony Geisler, this partnership for Ultimate Longevity Center. I have never seen anything like this. Yeah. I had 5 friends this weekend blowing up my phone. Are you getting me on the list? I'm interested in having a conversation. Yeah. How did this come about? How did you get this deal done?
Well, so I'll give you the bullet points since we don't have all day. But, I had 1 degree of separation from Gary, so I knew people that knew Gary really well. And, they kept talking to Gary because Gary's dream was always to open 1,000 stores, right? Just a round number that Gary's kind of always had. And I was actually here in Las Vegas at a fight. Dana White was my old partner in UFC gym. And I was at one of the fights talking to Dana next to the octagon. Gary came up. Dana was like, Gary, meet Anthony, Anthony, meet Gary. I'm like, Gary, I actually know Sage, which is his wife. I'd been talking to her via text because we had some common friends. And he's like, oh, Sage is here. And so I went over, said hi to Sage. A guy named Callie Means was there. Casey Means is his sister is a surgeon general right now. And so Callie was there. Callie said hi to me, said hi to Gary. Gary and I changed numbers. And then we started texting about this. And, at one point he talked to Dana right after Dana had signed his $7.7 billion deal. But he had talked to Dana, and, Dana said, look, if you want to actually go scale and franchising, like he's the guy to do it with. And so, Gary and I have been talking for about a year, and, Gary is very serious about making sure, at the end of the day, Gary's running a multi-billion-dollar brand, right? And so Gary wanted to make sure that, we were very aligned in how everything's going to roll out in kind of democratizing this longevity space. But at the end of the day, Gary's not a doctor, right? And so you have, a medical use there. And so we needed a partner on the medical side. I'd met Dougal Bain, who, runs Lifeforce, co-founder of Lifeforce, with Tony at a conference, and Dougal and I were, staying in contact. And so I reached out to Dougal and said, hey, what do you think about this? He's like, this would be amazing because we have telemedicine lockdown. So we have the licenses, we understand the medical piece, but we don't have brick and mortar, right? And our customer acquisition cost is insanely high. And in this space, the customer acquisition cost would be zero, right? The franchisee is opening a box and these people are walking right in. It's costing Lifeforce nothing, right? And so it just started to go together. And I was talking to Lifeforce, and I was talking to Gary, and as we were looking at it, I'm like, we really could land both planes. Like, it sounds insane because you really only need one of those guys to be massively successful, right? And get the word out. And I'm like, what's wrong with having 2 at the same party, right? And so,
how many views of that is a week on content?
It's insane. I mean, Gary's getting 225 million views a month. And those are unique views, right? And we always make fun of him. We're like, is that eyeballs? Is that 450 eyeballs? Or what is that? But yeah, I mean, he's getting that. Obviously, Tony gets a lot more viewership than Gary, right? But people are going to see Tony for motivational speaking, real estate, whatever it is. everybody, and I will say Gary is motivational and people do like Gary, but everyone that goes to Gary is going to Gary for longevity and wellness, right? And so, but I believe everybody that's going to Tony from a customer base are people that have discretionary income and they want more in life. We have these kind of two amazing people. Dougal, my partner there at Lifeforce, just runs a great business, phenomenal human. Gary's great. All of us are aligned around this product. So
the secret sauce, of course, in this case, there's multiple secret sauces. Number one, the team is incredible with the amazing amount of people in the world that know who these folks are and know what they stand for, especially Gary on the longevity side, Tony Robbins, as you said, with the motivational side. And Dougal was very impressive. We got to chat with him as well.
I told Dougal, I said, man, if you called me and said you were opening a car wash in LA, I'd put up half the money, and I know you don't know anything about washing cars, but I know you'd figure it out.
He'd absolutely figure it out.
He's been a great partner, and it's been a really, really good marriage. And today, happy to announce we sold our first 6 franchises today. So Scottsdale, Boulder, Santa Monica, Century City, so kind of LA, Phoenix, Scottsdale area, and then Boulder, Colorado.
Yeah, and you just started selling franchises.
Last week.
So as far as that secret sauce, Lifeforce franchisees they're basically managing the staff, but it's really Lifeforce's staff for the whole diagnostic component.
Correct.
Describe also there's a playground component.
Yeah, we're big on the blue zones, and if you know what the blue zones are, is where people live longer, happier lives, put it simply, right? And inside of that, when you look at that, it's not diet, right? It's not, pescatarian, carnivore, keto. It's not any of those kind of things. There's no proof that any kind of diet, because people say, oh, okay, they're in Greece and it's a Mediterranean diet, or there's no proof on diet. But the only proof there is, according to diet, is a whole food diet, right? Sleep, right? Movement, and then community, relationships, and purpose. And so why I like the equipment side of the business called the playground, which is where hyperbaric chambers are, and red lights and saunas and hydrogen therapy, cold therapy, all of those kinds of things. The reason I love calling it the playground is, where did you build your first relationships? Like, where did you fall on your butt for the first time? Where did you get hurt for the first time? Where did the bully throw sand in your face for the first time, right? You found relationships in the playground, and where are playgrounds built? They're not built on freeways. They're built in the middle of communities where people can build relationships inside their community. And so we're looking to replicate that same thing in our playground around our equipment, and then on the clinical side around our protocols, let the two work together. And then our third part is the apothecary, which is, kind of all of the, Perfect Amino and Baja Gold Salt and all the products and supplementation that you'll find coming out of the protocols. And so it's really a 3-piece, right? You don't want to be supplementing for supplement's sake. You want to do genetic methylation tests. You want to use, blood work to say, hey, this is where I'm deficient. And you want to use the apothecary to supplement those deficiencies. And then you want to use the playground, right, to help promote and prolong everything that we're doing on the other side of the business. So, all three just really work hand in hand.
Very exciting. So what misconception do people have about longevity that Ultimate Longevity Center fixes?
Yeah, that it's short. A lot of people, I tell everybody longevity is long. Right. Yeah. And from a business perspective, we like that because it's sticky and it's never ending. I told somebody the other day, it's like, the analogy for me on longevity is the same as learning to get great at golf, right? Everybody plays, but they never get good, right? You played 30 years and you die bad at golf, right? That's how that works. You don't ever get to a promised land of golf. And the same is really true in longevity, right? You are constantly running your biomarkers, seeing where you're deficient, bringing those up, right? Like I do a blood draw every month. And so every month I look at where am I deficient and am I getting better, right? And so on a monthly basis, I just got my blood work back a few days ago, and I was 3% better in a certain biomarker. You're like, well, who cares about 3%? But that's 36% a year, right? So where I'm good and I'm not good. So now, like my blood work up, I am 90% average to optimal. I'm 10% below average, right? And so I'm focused on that 10% of where I'm below average, and I moved one of those up. So I'm from 86% to 90% this last week on my blood work. Now I'm focused on the 10%. So my goal is to get to 100% average and optimal right? And then I'm going to go focus on the average stuff to make it optimal. And as I'm doing that, my biological age is going backward, right? As I'm doing more and more and more. So this isn't a come in, get tested, take the purple pill, and you're great tomorrow or in 3 days. It's a lifelong commitment to getting your biological age to 0, right? That's the goal.
I love this because it's really the ultimate roadmap, because prior to this, I guess what it really fixes, nobody had a roadmap.
Correct.
No primary care physician could care less about doing anything but prescribing something and getting you out of your office.
Correct. Right? But that's the way the healthcare system is designed, right? There's not nutrition components. It's very much symptomatic. You come in, I assess what you have, I give you a pharmaceutical, and I send you out. And we're not trying to change the healthcare industry. We're actually trying to keep people out of it. Right? I want you, Dana White said on one of his podcasts, like, look, if I break my arm, I'm going to a doctor, right, to get a cast. But if I have brain fog, I'm not going to a doctor to get something, right? And so if I have to have a body part removed or a body part casted or something like that, great, I'm going to the medical system. But outside of that, I'm staying out of it because there's better answers.
So let's get to the sequel, which is a fabulous name. You've obviously built a massive first act, and this is your sequel. Yep. What are you doing differently that is just undeniably better? And throw in there, you mentioned your Pilates Addiction and iFlex. There's other brands also under the roof of this sequel.
Correct. I mean, look, there's a lot we're doing different. I was amazed when we went to rebuild Pilates Addiction, how much the team and I knew just from construction after building 1,400 Club Pilates, right? When you look at that, you start to think about things like, well, I want to own the reformer, right? Like I own the intellectual property of the reformer. I'm not buying from Balance Body, the vendor. Yeah. Like we made Balance Body so much money, and it was tough getting equipment out of Balance Body a lot of times as we needed it because we didn't control the company. Now we do, right? Now I've got 1,000 reformers sitting. I'm ready to go when I need them, right? So I can put the money up, I can sit with the inventory, and then I can execute, right? And so you look at that. In Club Pilates, we had things attached to the walls, which means we had to have the workout stations on the left and right. In this, we built a machine that all the same equipment is encapsulated in the machine. So I actually did a workout in Miami over the beach. I put a reformer on the sand and did class, right? Because I don't need to be attached to anything. So that allows the real estate to be fully flexible, independent, because I don't need walls, right? I can go down the same. I can stagger left and right. I can go vertical. I can go horizontal. I can go however I want to go. So now I'm getting a lot more looks at real estate so I can drive better deals because of higher supply and one piece of demand, right? So a lot of things we learned in construction, a lot of things we learned in, pre-sales and, things of that nature that we're utilizing.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like you like having the proprietary equipment that nobody else. I mean, Body 20, electromuscular or stimulation.
Yeah,
you put on a suit, and I love the innovation you did with that. They used to have to wet the suit. Now it's
I mean, look, you were connected and wet. Like, who didn't love that? We get you wet, and we plug you into a socket and have you work out one-on-one with somebody where there's no community, and the franchisee is paying one-on-one prices. Right now, we've changed that to 8-on-1, right? So you're paying the one instructor to teach 8 people, one server to 8 people ordering an entree versus one-on-one, right? So the labor model, the cost is decreasing. The equipment is now disconnected and dry. So you're not having to wonder, like, is this sweat or is this water, right? It's just gross. Allows people to buy their own suits so they can show up in them. They can take them home if they want to. They can do those kinds of things. And just a better overall experience. And now with 8-on-1, we can build community, right? And loyalty, the relationships, once again, like we're building at the playground at ULC. We build those communities at Pilates Addiction. We build those at Beam and, Body 20 and iFlex. And so now we're able to do it at B20. So it's great. It's all FDA approved and it's been phenomenal. And we've seen time and time again as now we're rolling out that new tech, you're watching revenues go up, right? Because of the things we're doing, and you're watching labor go down. So
love it. When a concept goes from 10 locations to hundreds, what's the first thing that breaks? And how do you design the model so it doesn't? Because I know you think about all this stuff.
Yeah, it's a team. It's a staff, right? When you hire, when a franchisor starts, that's why Sequel is such an interesting opportunity. Because as you know, in franchising, you have two choices. You either go with the Pilates place that, opened a few in their area. Now they decide to be a franchisor, which means they have no cash and no sense, right? They've never been a franchisor before. Like, hey, I've been a mom and dad of 5 kids, 6 kids. Now I'm going to be a mom and dad of 200 kids. Like, it's a different game, right? That they're not prepared for. And they typically don't have the capital. So that means they're trying to sell franchises to whoever they can so they can bring in cash, so they can use the cash to try and stay alive on the backside while they try and raise capital and sell off parts of the business of equity and parts of debt. The other side, you have something like Club Pilates, which is a great business, right? You have 1,400 open examples, $1 million AUVs, but you can't buy one. Right. And so what's so great about Sequel is we have the team that bought and built and created Club Pilates inside of Pilates Addiction. We have the territories available, right, because it's a new franchise offering, and we have the capital. You don't ever find some new franchisor that has a bunch of capital and a ton of experience, right? I mean, our payroll is $1 million a month right now. Right. And the reason it's $1 million.
And you're just getting started.
Oh, we just started. I mean, we opened the office last April. It's been 9 months, right? We're putting out $12 million a year of just payroll, of W-2 payroll of people inside the box that are helping. They're there to support franchisees. I mean, you have Sarah Luna, who was running 3,000 stores in multiple countries, is now running 11 stores in one country, right? Yes. So I make jokes with Sarah all the time, and I'm like, if you screw this up, it's your fault, right? So the thing that breaks typically is you go and hire all these, call it $150,000 a year people, $200,000 a year people, because that's what you can afford, right? You're starting a sports team and you hire the people that are willing to work for the league minimum. You're not hiring LeBron out of the gate. What we've been able to do is go and hire the Jordans and the Shaqs and the Kobes right out of the gate, right? Because we have the relationships to do it, right? Because they're all my former teammates. So they want to come play together. Because even a new franchisor opens up down the street, has $100 million of capital invested, it doesn't mean Sarah wants to go work for him, right? So we have the relationships and we have the capital to bring in the best of the best. So we don't have to worry about, as we go from 10 to 100 to 1,000, can Sarah hang? I know Sarah can hang past 3,000.
Yes.
Right? So I got to worry about, can Sarah do more than 3,000? And so that's not a worry for me at 11.
Sarah is certainly battle tested.
For sure.
If I gave you 100 excited candidates, which you're going through right now with Ultimate Longevity Center,
a lot more than that, but yeah.
Course. How do you find, and I'm dumbing it down to only 100, how do you find the 10 who will actually execute?
So look, I think in that particular brand and in all brands, right, we're looking for people that are at least passionate about the product, right? They don't have to, have 6-pack abs at, Pilates or anything like that. But we're looking for people that are passionate about the product, people that are interested in running their own business, right? Because this isn't just add water, right? You have to work hard at it. It's still a startup. It still has risk. We're going to be there to support you, right? But you've got to be able to get through that. You got to be able to manage people, and you have to have the capital, right? We don't want people that are, using their last dime, to get into business. I had somebody the other day that was a candidate, and somebody said, well, they were going to use their kids' college money, and I'm like, no, like I don't want that, right? Not that you want to say, hey, you need to have all the money to lose. Right. But at some point, we don't want people getting 100% levered. We don't want people that are using their last dime. So, there's a capital component to it. There's a passion for the industry. At Ultimate Longevity is very interesting. We did the first discovery day, and never have I sat at the dinner table with the candidates having, I'll call, discussions or arguments over longevity protocols because these people are so passionate about it, right? And so they're kind of in that space, right? They have a love or affinity. Don't have to know everything about it. They don't have to be mini Gary Breckas, but they're following the Gary Breckas of the world and the Paul Saladinos and the Ben Greenfields and all these kind of people.
But you guys are such trailblazers in longevity, although it's been talked about and Gary's been talking about it and others talk about it. As you mentioned earlier, there haven't been any brick and mortar locations truly dedicated to this. So 3 years from now, 4 years from now, because I know you like to move fast,
yes,
what does it look like? What do you hope 3 or 4 years from now people say about Ultimate Longevity?
Look, I think there'll be, always depending on how many we sell to begin with is how many we'll be able to get open and how well we're able to drive AUV for the franchisees and how hard they work at it. But, we see a world in 4 or 5 years where, there's 800 of these open, 1,000 of these open. We don't have an item 19, so we're not giving performance claims, but we're definitely seeing, things in the industry, other people in the industry. I mean, we talked about game day when you're out in Newport, and I'm like, I love the boys at game day. Like they're good guys and they work hard and they're trying to do the right thing. And, that's not always, you don't always find that, right? And they've got 425 examples of people doing 1.8 million, and there's no playground, right? And they don't do everything that we're going to do. And so I think there's a lot of really great examples of good people that are running great businesses that are, a piece of the longevity space and a piece of what we're doing. And of course, we hope that we can operate as well as those people do. And we hope that we can do revenues higher than those people because we have a lot of great candidates to select from and, have that playground space. And, we'll have Gary and Tony, the Lifeforce team out there to back us. So.
When you look at your success, your previous company, your sequel, is it the people? Is it the fact that you've been able to surround yourself? You're smart enough to realize who you should be hiring because you have a ton of great people, as you mentioned, that followed you to sequel.
Yeah, I mean, look, I look at myself as a coach of a great team, right? They're out doing the work, they're out in the grind, they're out making the decisions. A lot of people didn't realize that even at the last company. I mean, I sold control of that in 2017, 9 years ago. Today, May will be 9 years ago that I sold control of that. And so, for me, it wasn't necessarily that I was actually in the day-to-day operations of each of these businesses. I mean, how could I be one guy across, 3,000 stores in multiple countries? And so it really was about those players, the Ryans, the Sarahs, the Verdines, the Don Michaels, all these guys that were out there. Lindsay Junk running, Yoga 6, did just such a great job at that. And her team and Kelly and Michelle and just all these people that are, on the teams. You've got, kind of these, me as a coach over the league, and then you've got these kind of CEOs of the 5 different teams, and just running a great business. And so there's no way, and I've told everybody, there's no way I would have come back and done sequel if everybody else wasn't signed up. We really wanted 100% of the people to come back and sign up.
Well, you've been an amazing guest. No surprise there. Why don't you share a couple of tips for the audience, assuming they're looking at sequel and they're looking to be the boss for the first time and they have some money. What advice would you offer them?
Yeah, look, I think, you need to get through, if it's coming to us, right, franchising in general, but as well.
It's through me, of course, but to you eventually.
Yes, but, coming through, in these networks, I mean, these guys, the franchisee prospect, for us, we don't look at it as a sales process. We look at it as an information session, right? I tell everybody this at Discovery Day when they come, like, this is not a used car. This is a marriage. And so if we spend our time saying, crazy things like, oh, it'll be amazing. You just, write a check once and stay home and, you keep it's mailbox money. Like, that's not what we do. We spend our time saying, look, here's the good, bad, ugly, and indifferent. Like, this is what it is. We want you to go into it eyes wide open, right? Now, majority of the time it happens that people understand that message. They go into it eyes wide open. They work through life, right? And then a portion of the time people get into it and they realize, like, well, they told me what it was and I thought that's what it was, but when I got into it, right? Because once again, it's a marriage, right? I love my wife, but what people maybe thought marriage was, and then what people think marriage actually is when you have kids and you're in a marriage and you're trying to work and be a dad and be a husband and be a brother and be a kid to your own parents. You have all that stuff happening. Marriage is challenging, life is challenging, being a parent is challenging. And so I don't think any of those things are, without their challenges. And the same is true in franchising. So, we try and be very clear that these are information sessions And that, I tell everybody at the end, I said, you're going to go home from this discovery day and you're going to talk about us. And when you leave, we're going to talk about you, right? And we're going to make sure that we think you're going to be a good steward of the brand. And you're going to go home and make sure you think we can deliver on the support, right? And that's really the kind of marriage that's made it happen, in heaven. And then you hold hands and you go out to the promised land, and and shit happens, right? And
the work begins.
Yeah, I mean, COVID happened to us, all sorts of things happened, and you just gotta bear down and still work through it.
Yeah. Well, thank you. You've been an amazing guest. So happy you're here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.